We heard there from David Gauke that one of the big challenges, not just for the Conservatives, but also for the country, are these strikes. It's been a difficult year for the Conservatives. What's Labour's plans to take on these strikes? I mean, how would the Labour Party do things differently?
Well, we're in the middle, aren't we, of a Tory winter of discontent. And the problem that we've got is we've got a government that at best is doing nothing to resolve them, and at worst is actively sabotaging the discussions that could lead to an end to these strikes. So the first thing Labour would do, and I and my colleagues have all said this for weeks now on your shows, is that we would sit down, bring both sides together, and just get them talking. And in many cases, the nurses have said this. If the talks were to begin, then the strikes would not continue. And the reason that nurses are taking, for the first time in our NHS's history, industrial action is because after 10 years in which their pay in real terms has been cut by around
Yes.
20%, they're now facing another massive real terms pay cut because inflation is soaring and nurses are having to go to food banks to get food and can't afford to heat their homes and clothe their children. That is not a situation we should allow to happen in this country. The way through it is just to get people talking.
I'm sorry to jump in there. Of course, everyone agrees that there should be some talking, but with talking must come action. So if a Labour Party was in government and you were faced with exactly the same situation, during those talks, how much money would you offer the public sector workers to call off these strikes?
Well, what you don't do is go into talks already having declared the outcome, because that isn't really a conversation. That's just an instruction, so that wouldn't work. But I know this is not just about pay; it's also about terms and conditions.
Yes, but a large part of it is about pay.
If you speak to nurses, one of the things they'll tell you is that the pressure on them in the hospitals is immense. We lost my dad in the summer. So I was speaking to nurses I was just so in awe of the care and love that they were giving to him and the rest of our family at that time. But there were nurses there working double shifts because there weren't enough nurses. So one thing Labour would do to counter that is we would scrap the non-dom tax status that allows billionaires to pay no tax at all in our country and use the 3 billion that would generate to fund the biggest increase in nurses that we've ever seen in our National Health Service to alleviate some of the pressure on nurses. That is a real thing you could put on the table as part of those negotiations. And I think we need to be looking at longer term than just a single year pay settlement as well. Now, all of that will come out of a negotiation, but if you're not even talking, you can't possibly get to a solution. And we've got a government that is sitting back and refusing to even allow those talks to go ahead. That is negligence.
Okay, so 3 billion it does sound like a lot of money, but given the overall state of the NHS budget, it is rather a drop in the bucket. Assuming there are other plans to tackle this, what could the public look forward to if a Labour government were to come in 2023?
Well, I don't think it's fair to say 3 billion is a drop in the ocean. That would be the single biggest increase in nurses and doctors our NHS has ever seen in its entire history. So I think that is a very practical measure. Now, the underlying cause of all of this is that we've got a government that's lost control of the economy. We all accept the situation in Ukraine and with Russia has fueled inflation, but it's done that across the whole of the world. And yet the United Kingdom has got the lowest growth out of the 38 members of the OECD. And the reason for that is this government hasn't got a clue how to grow the economy. So Labour's put on the table at our conference this year, Keir Starmer outlined a green prosperity plan that would allow us to invest in transforming the economy to, the green economy, investing in wind, wave, solar, take back control of our energy so we're not subject to these massive fluctuations that we're seeing across the world. And the chairman of Tesco's, not a member of the Labour Party, the chairman of Tesco's said that there's only one player on the pitch when it comes to economic growth, and that's Labour. So, we saw the last Labour government grew the economy twice as fast as this Conservative government has done. If we can grow the economy, as Labour has shown we can, there's more money to share around. But right now, we need to tackle the immediate issues. And in the health service, one of those is the immense pressure that our nurses and doctors are put under in a way that they simply can't cope with working double shifts and not having enough money to pay their bills.